you can bring up in your consciousness that sense that there is an external reality, the more easily you can actually ignore it or block it out. And when you block it out, all you're doing is you're no longer creating an illusion. It's not like you're blocking out something that actually exists. Because the sense that there is an external reality is an illusion to begin with. So you can safely ignore it. You can safely block it because it's not real. All you're doing is you cease to generate the illusory sense that there is a world outside of yourself. What are you left with when you ignore, when you disregard that external reality? How does your sense perception change? How does your state of being change? How does your state of consciousness shift its sense of identity? When you stop referencing an outside world, when you stop feeling like there is anything but your presence, anything but your preference, anything but your state of being, anything but that which you see, how does that shift things? You can go back and forth if you want. You can, oh, wait a second, he is outside of me. And then you can go back to simply dismissing that and feeling the non-physicality that you're left with. The spaciousness, the state of being that you're left with. The creator seat, that's your creator space. It's your holodeck, it's your... What if you could be in that state, practically speaking, all the time? Practically all the time. What if you would feel like that all the time? And you would stop referencing that there is something beyond your bubble. Or not your bubble, but your vision, your creation. That there's something beyond your consciousness. What if you'd simply stop referencing that? And change your relationship to the things you see and the people you meet from, oh, they are external creatures, to they are my manifestations. Manifestations of my own essence, of my own being. They are being placed there by me. They are pop-ins. They are creations. They are amazing creations of the one that I am. And now you can start, since all there is you anyway, you can start to shape that. You can start to paint that. You can start to overpower that, overwhelm that with your chosen preference. Until all you see, regardless of whom you're looking at, is what you prefer. Until all you see is who you choose to be in that moment. Until all you see is the frequency you choose to overwhelm your creation with. Feel into that for a moment. What if all you experience is the frequency, the preference that you experience in that moment, that you choose to prefer in that moment? So you can look at me as an example, but you can practice this with anyone. Hi. You can look at me, and instead of seeing me speak, you completely ignore me speaking. And all you see is what you prefer to see. Can be anything. Can be a state of being, it can be an imagination, whatever helps you. Now it becomes more and more just a non-physical, instantaneous presence that you experience that is then colored by you. It's not just the presence that, you know, everyone speaks about, like, oh yeah, let's be present. It's, yes, it's, of course it's that, because that's what everything is. But it's the presence, but it's infused, it's actually colored by you, consciously. It is infused with the creator that you are. It's not just a receptive state of being, it's actually a manifest state of being, a manifesting state of being. It's an actionable state of being. It's a constant presence, creatorship state of being. So you look at me and you overpower me. You ignore me completely for a moment. And this is where it's a little radical, because it conflicts with some of our ideas of what it's like to be social and what it's like to be respectful and what it's like to honor the other person. But for the purpose of practice, completely overpower me, completely ignore who I am, what you think I am, what I might be saying, and paste onto me your preferred state, so that all you see is your preference. Whatever that is, whatever you want me to be, whatever you want you to experience you as. So you maintain that presence as you look at me, or you can practice this later on with other people if they want to. You create, you generate an energy there. You generate a presence that is of your preference. So you're not receiving in that sense. You're not awaiting. You're not judging the scenario. You're not anticipating what's occurring. You're actually generating what that scenario is going to be like. You're not in the state of, oh, there's an actual scenario out there that I need to somehow listen to or adjust myself to. Doesn't mean there's no respect or integrity. All these things, again, like I said, the disclaimer is that you've reached a certain level of purity and integrity already, and you know what it's like to be compassionate and loving. But given the fact that you have mastered that to some extent, you can now practice this and see that you can actually paste onto me whatever you want, and I turn into that. Why? Because I'm not here. It's not that I change. It's not that you manipulate who I am. It's not that you don't listen to who I am. It's that you become conscious for the first time of what you already did unconsciously anyway when you thought you were respecting the other person by being in a receptive state of, oh, there's an actual person over there. You were already generating that person, but because of your doubts and your hesitancies, you were generating them in confused ways, perhaps. You were generating that relationship in ways that were not of your preference. But that was you doing that. You were placing them there already. Now that you start practicing that which might feel radical and out of the box and even unsocial to an extent for a period of time, it may feel like that to your mind's belief system. But what you're actually doing, mechanically, energetically speaking, is you're becoming conscious of what you're already doing anyway. That's all you're doing. You're not doing anything new. But you start practicing consciously generating the things that pop up in your reality. And more you actually start to, that what first feels like, oh, it's me overpowering my reality, or me dominating it with my frequency of choice. It's me spilling over and like just bombarding my experience with the frequency of my choice. That is only initially the sense. But at some point it becomes the realization that that's how creation is. That's how it works. And so the sense of, oh, me over here am overpowering this starts to dissolve. And it becomes just an inseparable, singular creation. But you realize every moment that that's what you are painting in that picture, just like in your dream at night. If you, say, have a lucid dream. It's no different. So practice with me at this moment and paste onto me whatever you want me to be. What would you prefer me to be? What would this relationship between you and I, what would it most ideally be like? And force that upon me. And that's the words I need to use because we've assumed that we're victims. Otherwise I wouldn't have to use these forceful words. But since you are stuck in a state that's not real, the sense of you're being separate from your reality, to counter that, let's use the word force. And force upon me what you desire me to be, energetically. See only your preference. Leave me no choice to be any other way. But be very present in that way. Be very sincere in that way. Have your integrity be there. Have your presence be there. It's not just a thought. It's a presence. You have to overpower it with presence. You have to manifest it. You have to generate that experience consciously. Because you do that normally, you do that from a state of high, super high, fine-tuned presence, high frequency state. That's from where you generate reality. So you need to sort of match that in order to get some results and in order to become more conscious of the fact that this is what you're doing all the time. You are God. You are God. There's nothing else that you are. You are God. So overwhelm me with you. What would you prefer me to be? I start undressing, I start dancing, I start all these different things. But you see, even if I don't do the thing that you perhaps demanded me to do or become, that does not change a single thing for you. All you keep seeing is your preference. All you keep feeling is your preference. In your mind, in your consciousness, I still am what you desire me to be, no matter how I act, no matter what I say, no matter what I think, no matter how doubtful it may seem, no matter how unsuccessful your generation may seem, that does not matter to you. You still perceive in that. You still dominate your reality with your chosen preference. All you see is your preference. Now here's one of the most powerful keys. That is one of the most powerful keys to becoming conscious again of the fact that you are a God, that you are a creator. It's to actually practice overpowering, overwhelming your reality with your chosen presence, your chosen frequency. And then you start to really fall in love with your reality, with your creation. You start to actually become one with it, rather than just think that there is unity, but you still feel like you're a victim of an external reality that never existed to begin with. Just as in your dream at night, there is no external reality. So when you start practicing and forcing your preference up on your reality, and this does not mean you go and lose your integrity and do whatever the fuck you want to everyone. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that your experience is becoming overpowered. You're overpowering your experience of what is with only your preference, with complete respect for the theming existence of other people's free will. However, all you see, all you experience is your preference. Regardless of how they respond, regardless of what they say, regardless of. This does not only work for relationships, this works for anything. Your career, anything you want to generate, but also just your everyday experiences, your own body, how do you want to feel. You can, regardless of what appears, you can choose to see and manifest and generate only your preference, only your preferred state. So initially that may feel like you're overpowering your reality. That's okay. Just practice that. Get the hang of it. Instead of asking, oh, what's this reality all about? You decide what it's all about. You see, and that's what it's all about. So there's your answer. You are here to be a creator, not a victim. We are all lost sheep. We have forgotten the fact that we are gods and goddesses, and we're not here to find things out. Not really. Yes, this is about learning, but we're not really here to discover things as such. We are here to create things that have never been created before. We are here to generate. And how do we generate? We generate according to our true desires, to our true inspiration. And so take your inspiration, take your desire, take your preference, your true heart's preference, not just, oh, I want a lot of money so I won't have debt. Not those kinds of preferences. Those are irrelevant. You can practice with those too. That's fine. That's excellent. You can do the secret stuff. What I'm talking about is a really high, fine-tuned, intentional state of love light that can have any shape. That diamond of love light can have has many facets. It can be bliss, it can be excitement, it can be inspiration, it can be love, it can be compassion, it can be integrity, it can be sincerity, it can be anything really, joy. But one of the facets of that high vibrational love light of the one infinite creator, you take that, you tap into that, and you dominate your reality with it. You don't care what anyone else thinks. You don't care what anyone else says. You don't care what anyone else acts like. Doesn't mean, again, that you're not present to these beings. It simply means that all you interpret and all you perceive and all that you generate is the mind state, the thought state, the energy state of your preference. That's all you do. It doesn't matter what they say. So again, it doesn't mean that they have to start acting in certain ways. But you'll see that when you start exuding your preference and when it really is in alignment with your higher self, and quote unquote their higher self, even though there is no external reality, then it does start happening in that way. And they do start responding in that way. But not because you told them to, not because you dominated, but because you generated that frequency that took you into the parallel reality where that which was in highest best interest for quote unquote both of you is now becoming manifest. It's because you did not hesitate. It's because you did not doubt. It's because you did not become a seeker. You did not become a questioner. You did not feel like you were present in a universe that already existed that you had to take your cues from. You see, there is no universe that already exists that you have to take your cues from. That universe, my friends, does not exist. It has never, ever been present. It has been made up by whom? By you. You have created, you have generated the illusion of an external reality that you somehow have to listen to. So you generate a reality that seems external for you. You generate a focal point of a body-mind, and then you generate the thought process that the focal point of the body-mind is somehow not the focal point of the environment or everything else. And then you generate the thought, well, what it means like to be sociable, or what it means like to be honorable, or what it means like to be compassionate is to really regard that reality outside of myself as the end-all be-all. I have to listen to what mommy and daddy says. I have to listen to what happens to me from the outside. If I don't, I'm being arrogant, I'm being egotistical. But you see, you generate Katrina. You generate the effects from the outside in. You generate the other person. You generate the sense of separation. You generate the focal point of the body-mind. There has never been that world that you feel that is external to you that you need to listen to. That is a thought. This is your creation. It's not your reception. You're not receiving anything ever. You only ever give life to creation. You only ever use the unconditional love field that is the one infinite creator's desire to know itself, to express itself, and then it generates you, an autonomous I am, that can then generate its reality, and it does so, but then as a human being, it starts to forget that it's doing that all the time. And so it generates itself in a very isolated corner of I am this versus that, forgetting that actually everything you can ever see is generated out of your own energy. Only. You can never experience anything but your own energy creation. You can never experience anyone else's energy, not truly. Yes, communication between worlds can happen and does happen all the time. We do co-create in that sense. However, your experience of that co-creation with them is generated out of your energy because you can't experience anything else. It's a mechanical impossibility to experience someone else's energy. It's not possible. Does that make sense? Is your version, is your reflection of that communication that happens on a completely different level that I cannot even begin to describe. True connection between spirits, between souls, between consciousnesses, between I ams is not what we think it is. It's not when I'm touching your body. It's not when I'm feeling your heart open and my heart open and we have a beautiful connection. That is a physical reflection, or even a non-physical reflection of the true connection that's already beyond space-time. It's beyond space-time. There's not much else for it to be beyond. It's beyond space-time. Everything else is generated within that inseparability of all souls. That is really the one soul that's interacting with itself, forgetting that it is one soul interacting with itself. So, again, when you generate the practice of generating your reality, choose what you desire this moment to become. And regardless of how it appears, regardless of how it reflects you, you do not flinch. You do not flinch. Not once do you flinch. Not once do you flinch. Again, that does not mean that you cannot communicate, that you cannot be sociable. But it means that internally, subjectively, that your state of being is 100% your chosen preference all the time. When you start practicing this, you start remembering that this is what you've always already been doing, and you start forgetting that there is such a thing as an external world. And you become naturally, energetically, vibrationally one with the universe, rather than just seeking for spirituality and understanding it from a very simple presence point of view. You start to actually vibrationally understand and know that there is nothing but you. And you want the experiential side of it. You don't just want the enlightenment knowledge of it. You want to become it. If you want to become it, you need to become it. How do you become it? You do what's counterintuitive. You enforce yourself upon your creation, because that's what you always already do. But you've forgotten it. In order to taste that again consciously, you tap into your inspiration. You tap into a high vibrational love light state, and you paste it onto everything you see, and you disregard everything you saw before. That means that the things that you perceive, the street, walking on Pearl Street, is never going to be the same again. Because you're not going to be looking at Pearl Street. You're not going to be the victim of Pearl Street. You're not going to be the receiver of Pearl Street. You're going to be the creator of Pearl Street. Pearl Street will look whatever you want it to look like. Pearl Street will feel whatever you want it to feel like. Pearl Street will respond to you in whatever way you desire your creation, which it is, Pearl Street is your creation, to respond to you. Like I said, this may sound, and in a sense it is, a little radical. And again, if you're not sure what to do, yes, go for integrity. But you will find that true integrity does not conflict with generating the reality of your preference. It does not conflict. If you ever doubt and you feel like you're about to do something crazy that might be against your integrity, take a deep breath, relax, maybe let go of the need to perform that desire or to execute that desire. Not suppress, but simply take a break, take a relaxing breath, and tune into integrity first, and let that then guide you. However, at a certain point, you start to become So naturally tuned, because you increase your frequency, so you actually start to see more as higher self sees, as higher consciousness sees. You start to interact and experience more as higher self does, and you start to see much more of reality that's already happening that most people are completely oblivious to. And with all that information at your disposal, you will know what integrity is. And from that space, you will see that it's not conflicting to generate your reality, because that's what you're doing always already anyway. And there's a great love, don't worry. For those that this feels too radical for, it's not a selfish state. It's ultimately not a selfish state. It really is not a selfish state. It's honestly, the most selfless state. You become of service. You become the whole, you see? You become all of your creation, not just your focal point inside of your creation. And so your well-being no longer is the focal point of your body-mind. Your well-being now becomes whatever is entering, whatever is generated inside of your reality. So you care about the well-being of creation, which is what this is. Meaning that at this point, all of your well-beings are actually my well-being. Not just my well-being is my well-being. But you can't really know what that's like, and you can't really know how to respond from that space, and you can't really know how to interact from that place, and you can't really recognize that integrity until you start actually experiencing what that is like. And you can only experience what that is like if you expand beyond your bubble, beyond your biases, beyond your preferences, the lower preferences, the ideas of needs, and you remember your true preference. Your true preference is a variety, any type, any form of the love light expression that is the infinite's most immediate expression of itself. Again, we can translate that in terms of excitement, inspiration, passion, creativity, joy, co-creation, love, wisdom. Take your version, take whatever feels the most exciting, the most alive to you, and make that all that you see, regardless of what is actually happening.